Hello everyone, Through here. Welcome to today's presentation. So in today's presentation, we are going to look at this very interesting topic, the hackathon. It's something that has come out of the tech space from Silicon Valley, and a lot of companies are looking to bring hackathons or to have organized hackathons. And it's very interesting, right? It's one of those things that by default is assumed to be good, right? If your company is doing hackathon, then it must be good. It must be productive. And if you're not doing hackathons, you might be missing something. All right. And one has to wonder, is this as good as it seems, or is it just a fad that you can safely ignore without any repercussions? All right. And this is something that executives or sponsors who want to build innovative companies should be thinking about, right? Because the whole idea for hackathons is, well, if you can get a group of people together into a room and somehow let the sparks fly, you can get innovation out of that. All right, and I don't have the exact statistics to share, but I do believe that some maybe very interesting or exciting products have come out of hackathons. But I also want to come in with an opinion that I have of it, which is a little bit contrarian. So we're gonna dive into this. I will share some examples, but you might have heard of hackathons, or I'll give you some of the other terms that people have used for this. It might be hack day is what some people will call, or hack fest. So depending on where you are, or code fest. All right, and there are many more names that you can use to describe the hackathon. And it actually came from the whole idea of a marathon. All right. So if we want to look at the etymology of this, it came from this whole idea of a marathon, which is kind of like an enduring sprint where marathon is about 27 point something miles or 28 miles that you have to run. And it's very enduring. It needs a lot of endurance and persistence and resistance to make it through a marathon. And so the idea of a hackathon is, well, there's the hack part, right? Hacking, which again is not the idea of breaking or stealing, but hacking is really of just doing something in a scrappy way to make it work. So that's what hacking is. So hackathon. So it's a hackathon of hacking, right? So that's just basically where that comes from it. And it's very, very interesting. So executives might be thinking, should I be doing, you might be a leader within your organization. You might be a manager leading a team. And you might be thinking, should we implement hackathons? Should we have hackathons within our organization? Before we go into that, I'll share a little bit of my story. I once worked at this organization, and this is what kind of influences my opinion. Now, this is more, kind of opinion talk here, so be warned. I once worked at an organization, so early on in my career, and it was a great organization. Of course, I'm not gonna specify the name. So we had an executive, or one of the directors on the team. I think he was very forward thinking, and I really appreciate the thinking of this individual. So one of the things that he had us do was, during in the organization, when you walk in, you have, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All right. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Of course, we don't work on these days. All right, on the weekends. So what they had us do was, well, normally we'll come in, we have our job, we have to support the business on the technology team. And so he had us work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And on Friday, you can take half of the day on Friday, all right, to work on any project that interests you, right? To work on any project that interests you, all right? And I'm going to talk about this particularly and also talk about hackathon, because I think that the motivation behind this was great. I really appreciated this, and I think that a lot of companies will be looking to give people the freedom to do things that interest them. So the whole idea is, well, we need to keep the business running Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, And then on that half day afternoon, if I have 4 hours, that's basically 4 hours, right, of time where you don't have to be, report on whatever it is you're doing. You can pick any pet project, anything on company's time, you work on it, and you get paid for that basically. And the whole idea is hopefully people would use this time to do innovation, to do research, to do R&D, to work on something that interests them, and that's how innovation kind of comes into play. And it was great. And many companies have done this in one form or another. Sometimes it might be, all right, you're going to take the entire Friday and you would work on something that interests you. Some would say, 1 hour every day, you can work on something that interests you. And there are different flavors of this. While this is great, and I hate to fault something like this, but in my experience, when you think about this whole idea of innovation, when you think about this whole idea of innovation, it's a very, very nuanced topic, right? Because if I think about myself, when am I the most innovative? When am I the most creative, right? When do I have those juice flowing in my body, or sometimes they call it the flow state, all right? As an IT professional, usually it's hard to pinpoint that specific period, but certainly I don't think there's any rule book that says, well, I'm most creative on Friday in the afternoon, right, at that 4 hour period. Because I can be creative, some days in the morning, or some days, just having a conversation on a Wednesday and I just get a spark of creativity. Or I can be creative, on Tuesday evening. That creativity can really come up at any time, right? I don't think for the most part there is any secret sauce that or any something that dictates that you have to be creative at 4, on a Friday afternoon. And if that's the realization, if we can all agree that creativity can happen, it's more serendipity, right? It can just happen based on your day-to-day interaction, then dedicating just Friday alone as the only time for innovation or to work on creative projects could be misleading. All right. Again, it's a great idea for organizations that want to be innovative. But what happens if I have an idea on a Monday morning on something that I think that would help my team and would move the team forward, or on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday or on a Thursday? Do I need to, not do that or pursue that and explore that a little bit because I have to wait till Friday to get that done and maybe potentially forget about it or get, shoved into other things? So that is something that can happen. All right. And throughout the day, we have all these sparks of ideas and all these thinkings. All right. I certainly do. And the last thing I want to do is to wait till a Friday afternoon for me to explore that. Well, maybe we should think about this way of exploring data, or maybe we should try this new way of writing code, or maybe if we explore this way of doing our DevOps processes, we're going to get better at it, right? That can happen any day of the week. And so being, dedicating and boxing a time for innovation, I think it's good intention, but could come up with very misleading or unintended results, because you're kind of stifling innovation and just boxing that into a particular period. Another point for this would be, well, if assuming that I come up to the Friday, Friday afternoons, again, I don't want to pick on Friday just because we know sometimes Friday afternoons are the periods where people are the least creative because you're already looking forward to the weekend. But just assume that it's just a regular Friday afternoon. There are Friday afternoons where I'm just totally blank. All right, my brain is blank, and what I want to do is fill out my reports, my timesheet, or updates, and just more administrative, low value, low calorie kind of task to do that. And if that's the only time I have to quote unquote do innovation or work on interesting projects, then I might be performing at 30% and producing at 30% as opposed to maybe the normal rate of 85% or even 110% or something like that. All right. because you might be the human energy kind of fluctuates. All right, so I might be performing high here someday, and someday I'm here, and we all kind of go through the highs and lows. And if it happens that on a Friday you're somewhere here, now you're essentially wasting 4 hours doing the innovation because it's been mandated, and you know, but you're not being as productive because you are doing that from a low state. And the takeaway from this is it's very hard to mandate innovation. And this is kind of building to what we're going to talk about here, which is hackathons, all right? You cannot just box it and say this particular day, this particular time, you have to innovate at that time, all right? I believe innovation can happen at any time during the day, in the course of the week. And, for the teams that really want to be truly innovative, they have to figure out ways of giving latitude to their employees to be that innovative. All right, whether you're a CIO, you're a CTO, or a CEO, or just a leader of a team, you have to figure out a way to allow your team to tap into that innovative moments when it appears, and capitalize on that, of course, without necessarily impacting the day-to-day work. All right, and people should not have to wait till a Friday for them to be innovative, and certainly not have to wait to a special day of the month. All right, let's say the 27th of the month, to say it's a hackathon. All right, because you can have a month of 30 days, or 31 days, and only out of that you have just one day of that month, and the entire innovation of your organization should happen on that day. I think that could really, you can get results, of course. Like I said, the motivation behind these things are usually good, but the results themselves is what we have to be critical about and really say, can it be possible that out of all the 31 days in the month that I have, on this specific day that has been dedicated to me would be the day where all my creativity would be, ramping up at the 110% for me to produce something new or to do some research? I don't think so. All right. And now you can get into the position where it's a hit and miss, right? Your hackathon might fall on the day where the creative juices are flowing and you get creative. But if it falls on one of those slumpy days, then you don't produce anything, and that day has basically been wasted. Now it's just like a hit and miss. Whereas if you take the approach of every day, every single day you show up, it's a day to be creative and to bring your creative juice to the table, you don't need a hackathon for that. All right. If something sparks and you think of something, or some creative juice is flowing, pursue that, go after it, explore it, and get the support of your team to do that. All right. Waiting for a hackathon is not necessarily going to change much. All right. And I'll share this with another example. Let me bring it down here for a second. At an organization I worked for. All right. And we did we did some hackathons at that organization. So this organization, and it was I think it was once every quarter or so. We had this big day for a hackathon. I believe it was one day for doing your work, and then the next day you present. All right, and you can form teams, and this is how your typical hackathon will go. So one day of work and one day of present, and so you can, at the start of that day of work, you can form teams of a group of people, and you guys will pick a project. So you can form teams of 3 or 4 people, right? You can form those teams and you pick a project and you work on that project throughout the day. One full day, nothing was expected of you. You just simply work and deep research and deep dive into that project. And on the next day, you go out and you present. All right. And what will happen is, on this day of working on that project, if you find the team and you guys figure out what you want to work on, we would work from, we come in, maybe sometimes in the morning because we want to get an edge and have more time. We come in, 6, 7 or so, and work in the office until the next day, because you can literally, we slept in the office, right? Because it was kind of cool. It was kind of fun, right? We're doing hackathon, right? So why do you have to go home? It kind of felt like, you were being lazy or you're being weak if you went home. So you kind of want to show your dedication. So we kind of would literally, I remember one of the times we'll literally work and do the research and whatever it is we're working on, past, from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m. at night, and continue 7, 8, 9, 10 midnight to the next day at 8 a.m. so that we can then start presenting. Because if you went home, well, you've lost a couple hours as such. And they, of course, they would bring beer. There'll be access to beer and games, and it will be kind of fun and such. So, which is great, right? The Silicon Valley companies do it. But when I asked myself, and in retrospect, in some of the things that we did there, were we really producing at 100%, right? Is that the best approach to drive innovation within a company? And I want to challenge that to say, sure, again, with things like this, there is a good motivation behind this. There is good motivation. But can you imagine working at the top 100% level for 24 hours without sleep, right? And then with maybe one or two beers on top added to it. At some point, you're basically just wasting time because you're not producing that much. But because you've been forced to do all of it within one day, you just try to do something. And, just doing something because you have to do something, I don't think is the best approach, right? You're not necessarily innovating. You're basically, at some point, just wasting time. In the case for us, I would say by 5 p.m., whatever we were doing or whatever I was doing was just busy work, all right? Because if you're supposed to be working on research and the top kind of problems to solve for your organization, it doesn't help when you're going 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. at night with no sleep and maybe one or two cocktails on top of that, and you're exhausted and all of that. It just was painful, and we ended up just walking and just sleeping on the floor, and we felt like, well, we did so much work, but a lot of it was just ended up being throwaway work. Now maybe one or two of those things can be good, but for the most part, I wouldn't take my team and just make them do 90% of work that gets thrown away just with the hope of, let me write it here. So 90% gets thrown away with the hope of maybe finding 10% that might make sense, right? That is, it's bad. If you were to cross a road, that 90% of the time you get hit by a car, and just 10% of the time you succeed, I might not be so inclined to cross that road. For the organization, so for teams, they might make the argument that, well, yeah, we just want this 10%, right? Fail fast and keep moving. And this goes into a whole culture, which I'm going to talk about in a separate video, of this idea of glorifying failure, as if failure is a natural predicate for success. Sure, it is good to fail if you are ultimately going to succeed, but if you can avoid unnecessary failure, why do it? All right, why waste the time of your team or your resources to be working on godly hours in the name of a hackathon, when at some point we know the human capacity for staying alert and staying at peak performance maxes out in a couple of hours. And people would do these hackathons for days, right? Sometimes it's 1 day, 2 days, or 1 week hackathons, and it's just brutal on people who are part of this. And if you look at the results, again, I haven't pulled out any statistics to look at the results of the kind of innovation that has come out of hackathons. I'll be pressed to see that, right? If you can share this from your organization or your own experience, go into the comment section below and share that. I definitely want to hear about that, to see does this deliver the results that companies are investing and expecting from all these hackathons, or is it just a glorified party, or a glorified a show of dedication? Because, well, if you didn't partake in the hackathon, or if you weren't contributing in the hackathon, it means you're not being creative, or it means you're not loyal, or you're not dedicated to the team, and such. All right, and it's forcing everyone into that group mentality, group thing to do that. Whereas all the other days of the week are going by, and if you're not allowed to be as creative and innovative and collaborative in those periods, just because you have to be collaborative just on the day of a hackathon, I feel that companies will be missing a big piece of the opportunity to innovate, to do true innovation. If they decide that all the innovation is going to happen just on one day, or just a specific period that has been dedicated for that. All right. Every single day your employees are showing up should be an opportunity for them to be innovative. It should be an opportunity for them to have a hackathon mindset. Should be an opportunity for them to solve problems. Should be an opportunity for them to create new things. All right, to contribute as much as they can. And again, that energy is gonna go flow up and down, but you have to give them the platform every single day they show up to bring that creativity to the table. Sure, you can certainly have hackathons if you want, but that is just more of a glorified, show of that. It shouldn't be the only avenue to which your company can be innovative. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I thought I'll make these quick videos. Are hackathons good or bad? Um, Again, the debate is up in the air. If you have your own personal opinions about this, I want to hear that. So just go into the comment section below, share that, and I'll be more than happy to hear and to engage. Like I said, I can bet that there will be opinions on both sides of the fence for this, right? There will definitely be people who think that this is the bread and butter of innovation for the organizations. And as you can see, I have made some arguments in here of why we need to be, we need to ask more of hackathons and be critical of them and not take it as gospel that, well, if innovative companies do hackathons, so my company must by default do hackathons in order to be innovative. I think that there are other opportunities to unleash innovation, to unleash creativity that doesn't box people into this concept of hackathons. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. This is Fru. I hope this was helpful. Share this with somebody that might get value out of it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. We make videos like this, taking interesting concepts, breaking them down with us so we can get some more insights from it. Again, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next presentation.